super pumped, dude. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say you're super pumped that you can't wait to put your readers on.
Dude, readers are the worst, but they're very helpful.
It's such a sign of my age,
dude,
to have readers on my head.
We're degrading, dude. We're like, is it degrading?
Yeah, we're getting one day closer to death.
Yeah,
as soon as you're born, you start dying.
I know. My son goes, "Well, Dad, you're not quite gonna die yet. Like, you're not gonna die yet. Like, what is it? 70 years." 70 years are from the Lord, and then after that, it's all like a gift. There's like that one verse in there that says something about that.
I don't think I've ever read that.
Yeah, he saw
this proverb or something.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Where basically it says 70 years is the norm. I'm paraphrasing, and then everything after that is like extra.
So
he's like, Dad, you're not quite there yet. I'm like, what the world, man? But dude, readers are the worst, but they're very helpful.
I got these readers that regular readers up top, and then. Regular glasses, just clear, but readers are down in the lower portion.
Yeah, bifocals.
So, yeah, basically like bifocal readers.
Okay.
They're kind of cool, but a little hard to get used to.
Yeah.
It's like you look down, you can read, you look up, it's just normal, which is kind of nice. But
it takes me a while to like go back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the worst, like stitching leather. Like this really makes me mad because I just want to, when I'm in leather go mode, like I just want everything to go.
Right.
And then I gotta like stop to find my readers, to find the thread, to put it in the needle hole. Like,
right.
It's just such a nightmare.
Just keep them on your head though.
I
just
could
put them on your head like sunglasses.
But then I get like indentations in my bald head because I don't have any. I care. I don't want that.
But no one's there. It's just you.
Well, what if it breaks out and then I got like, acne on my forehead from these stupid readers?
That and the other thing I notice I'm starting to do, I think I'm starting to tell the same story to the same people.
Yeah.
That really bothers me. Like I start telling a story and then I'm like, have I already told this before?
And everybody's super nice and they're like, no,
oh, yeah,
well, maybe you did, but I don't. Just tell me. Just tell me.
What am I, 70 years old?
Dude, it's the worst, right? Oh man.
All right. Well, this is Lowe Expectations, episode number 12. I am Anthony.
And I'm Gary.
Boom.
That's the intro.
It's
super bad. Dude, 12. That's a good number.
Yeah.
Dude, we hit the teens.
We're clipping along here.
It feels like we've done a lot more for some reason.
It does. And lately, and we said this on the last episode, it feels that our level of busyness, we just get to a point where I'm like, wow, we need to record.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of cramming like I am for a test. Like when I was in high school, I start cramming.
That's how dedicated you are to this.
Yeah. Because I always like to try to put a little something together that I can look at and that you can look at.
Well, it's good that you have it for you. So that way you can kind of like lead the conversation, kind of get my mind spinning. So that way nothing comes out. You got to have something come out.
But I like to send you stuff to kind of get your I don't know if you read it or not.
I do. Get me in the right, like,
you start
mind space.
thinking about it.
Exactly. I actually sent you things for today, right?
Yeah.
Which is unlike me.
It is unlike you. And I'm surprised you haven't started out with a normal Gary question. Let me ask you this.
Well, you got real mad at me the last time. So like, I don't like to get yelled at.
Well, instead of let me ask you this, let me tell you this. Did you know that prior to 1920, people could mail their children through the postal service?
What age?
I think they had to be under 50 pounds.
That makes sense.
So this was not a common thing.
Throw them in a box, give them some cereal.
No, they had some staged photos of a mailman with like a child in his mail carrier
satchel,
bag.
Yeah.
Usually what would happen is, I guess, at that time in our nation's history, people knew their mail carriers very well. Like they were friends of the families and stuff. And they would sometimes use the mail carrier to take their kid like a town over or whatever to a relative or something like that. But there was one kid, I think, that made, what was it, like a 700-mile trip or something like that with the postal service. And, they just put stamps on their shirt and stuff. It was cheaper than putting them on a train.
To ship them over to their relatives. That's funny.
I just saw it. I was And I found it amusing. And then they actually had to start, the Postal Service actually had to put stuff in writing like, hey, you can't do this. Like,
Okay.
Because people were starting to want to do it more and more because
It's
they
convenient.
saw it was convenient. It was cheaper. But can you imagine putting little Johnny, putting some
Well,
stamps on his shirt?
I wouldn't trust the federal government with a child at this point.
Oh my word, no way.
So, I mean, I don't.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a friend who just started working for the Postal Service.
Okay.
Wild. I don't
In what way?
Legally, I don't even know. Like making their people work 13 days in a row.
Really?
It's 12-hour shifts. I'm like, I don't even understand how you could do that.
Like you have to do this or you're fired.
Yeah.
Well, they probably get
Now
paid pretty well.
this is this is coming third-hand information to
Sure.
me, but yeah, being told like you're going to work the next 13 in a row before you have a day off. I was like, I feel like that's a violation of some sort of labor law.
Yeah.
But hey,
But the problem is if you protest or you take some type of stance against your employer, if it's the federal government, you're getting put in solitary confinement probably, right?
yeah. And the federal government, I mean, the Postal Service can do whatever they want. Their vehicles aren't insured. They don't need registration.
Now listen, Anthony.
Yeah,
they're insured.
They're
it's
insured.
Self-insured.
I know.
They're backed up by the dollar of the federal government.
I know. They are insured, but they're not registered, which is interesting because I recently had a vehicle accident with one, and they're not registered.
So like if you type it in your little computer, nothing happens.
It's weird. Like they just have like a identification number on the vehicle that you have to use in your report, but there's no way. And they have a VIN number, a vehicle identification number,
Sure,
of course, because they have to have that. But
yeah,
it's weird. You have to look at the VIN. You identify it by the VIN and the number.
this fake number that they probably change whenever they want.
So
willy nilly, as they say. Is that's what you say, right? Willy nilly.
Willy nilly.
You say that
whatever
sometimes.
they want. So, but yeah, you did send some stuff over. I mean, what did you want to dive into?
I don't remember. I don't have my stuff with me.
I thought I sent it to you.
You did. I just don't have it open in front of me. You have a computer. I don't have a computer.
I thought you.
Now listen, if I'd like to have a computer to do the podcast, but like we need some more support. You know what I mean? Like this.
I hate to break it to you, bro, but I don't think you're ever getting a computer.
Well, that's all right. I mean, it's not a big deal. You just have to.
Maybe I'll buy a new one and I'll give you this one.
I think somebody else probably needs it more than me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we're talking about what this. Oh, so here's some good news. There was a police officer.
Well, the ending's good. I think I know what you're going to talk about. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Is this really how we're going to start? You literally asked me. You said, Gary, what do you want to talk about? And I start talking about it.
Go ahead.
I just don't do it the way that you want me to, right? Like my storytelling's not how you want to tell a story. Like we always, dude, you make me so mad. Anyway, all right. So listen, so this is like a different, like we don't usually give the listener these types of stories. So like this is unique and I like it.
This is unique. Go ahead.
Can I tell the story? It's a good story.
Go ahead. I'll allow it.
So there's a police officer outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who he and his family watched their house burn to the ground recently.
Did you see a picture of it?
No.
I actually saw a picture of it.
Okay.
Completely to the ground.
Yeah. I guess there was an electrical fire on like an outdoor port, like an outside, like a porch. And it literally took the house out in like minutes. Nothing the fire department could do, nothing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the family's fine. No injuries as a result of this. But everything it's a total loss. So then a family member or whatever put something on social media and like the community like stepped up, like their GoFundMe page.
Right.
And just like donations started rolling in for this guy.
Yeah.
And he's probably not like, he's probably just a regular guy. You know what I mean? I didn't really like dive into who this guy is, but it was cool to see that the community kind of helped him out.
Yeah.
You know,
his name's Sergeant Alex Bruckner.
Yeah. Have you looked at what the GoFundMe is at right now? Like they had a goal
right
of
around. I think they had a goal of like 10,000 or
it was 60
15.
when I sent it to you, and that was like a couple days ago.
It's right around 60. Maybe they shut it down, but yeah, it's right around $60,000 that people raised through GoFundMe, and then there was another fund open through some police organization or something like that. But yeah, he works for Hatboro PD right here in PA. I think it's a small jurisdiction. Yeah. But yeah, they lost everything. And they also had an in-law living with them, like they had in-law quarters. So
Yeah.
it was like an extended family as well. They lost everything. So
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
cool about this? I mean, the guy has insurance, like his house is
Yeah.
going to get built again, like a different house, but like all of this stuff's gone. But for the community to
yeah,
rally around and give him some cashish,
right.
I like it, dude. It's a
And
good story.
insurance is only going to cover so much too. I mean, you're going to get another house and everything, but
Yeah,
you
it's not you lose
so
your pictures.
many- yeah,
I mean,
you
most
lose
things are on the
everything.
cloud at this point, you
right,
know?
the cloud.
The cloud.
But yeah, it was an uplifting story, a tragic story that became uplifting by the community and the amount of generosity that came through. So
way to go, Hatboro PD. Hatboro people.
Hatboro, yeah,
people of Hatboro and those online who saw it and gave.
right,
Way to go.
right. And then the other thing you sent me.
Oh boy, I don't remember this one.
Well, you sent me this article out of Police One, and basically it's pursuit policy. And,
oh man,
and
the
just
old pursuit.
This idea that we might be turning the page and getting back on track with pursuits.
I've heard this.
What did you hear,
Gary? Are you a liberal? And I literally like, how is that even a question?
Is this a coworker that asked you this?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Was this someone that was like actually asking you this question, or just poking fun at you because of some things?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, because I push back a little bit, and then I get this like. For those listening, I'm not a progressive or a liberal. I'm pretty conservative, but yeah, it's super funny because, and I think the pursuit stuff, because I push back on that a lot more than I think.
Right. Well, I think you tend to be maybe a little more
safe.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah. And we're obsessed with safety. So I think I'm
not obsessed with safety, but I am with
I think the obsession of safety in this country has maybe rubbed off on you a little bit.
Oh my
That's all
goodness.
I'm saying.
Here we go. So I'm becoming a liberal.
No, but think about how obsessed with safety we are. Think about all these companies. Think about like a tech company, and they'll say stuff like, "Our number one priority is safety." I'm like, "You're a tech company."
Yeah, why is that a thing? How about your number one? How about like keep my identity safe?
Well, and second of all, safety is not your number one priority. Making money is your number one priority.
Yeah, let's be honest here.
Like safety is not your number one priority. Like, right. I was talking to my brother and he works, in the tech, he works in a world that I don't even understand. But he was like, saying, these things, you hear these companies say our number one priority is safety. He's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like even if you're in a construction business or some other business, like your number one priority isn't safety. Like
right.
What you do in and of itself, depending on the job, isn't safe. Like if your number one priority was safety, you wouldn't get anything done.
That's true. You don't even come in.
Yeah. Don't even come to work. Don't drive, don't walk.
Yeah. Don't walk. Yeah. Dude, there was a tragic story locally where a worker, some workers outside of the building took a grate off, that was right outside of the building, and then on the inside door they said, don't come out. And this other worker, so they boxed that off so nobody could fall in this gaping hole now,
right,
on the sidewalk. But
they didn't do anything on the inside.
So they did. They put it's always been, don't use this door. Alarms will sound. Don't use the door.
Gotcha.
Well, this other worker who uses that door all the time to come out and smoke literally walks out the door and falls to his death.
How far?
I don't know, like 15-foot drop, but like he was there for some time. And,
no one passed away.
Yeah.
How did anyone find it?
Because they came back and
they came back to do work and they found
terrible. It's just tragic, but like they weren't safe.
No, they weren't safe.
They weren't safe enough. So now it's 0 days.
0 days since our last safety
incident.
But we are. I do think we're obsessed with safety. I think.
Do you have a car that like when you go over the yellow line a little bit, it like jerks you back and like does all kinds of bells and whistles?
But I was in a rental.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
That if you get too close to a car in front of you, this like red line came up on my windshield.
Yep.
And my seat shook. I almost wrecked because I didn't even know what was going on.
Sometimes they'll have there's probably settings in there that it'll go beep, 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 brake, 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 brake. Like it says brake, brake, brake as you're like getting too close to this thing. I'm like, I'm not too close. This is where I want to be. Don't tell me what to do.
Right. Well, this I did understand it because I was on a highway and traffic stopped suddenly in front of me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like jamming on the brakes. But yeah, like this red line on my heads up. I didn't even know this vehicle had a heads up display.
That's
This
fancy,
red
dude.
line, and my driver's seat started vibrating. And I was like, I'm going to ram this car. I thought I was under attack or something. You know, I didn't know what was going on.
Dude, it's like I feel like you're in a video game now. You're like, yeah, what's happening next?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, safety. We're obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I really do think we're obsessed with it. I mean, think about days of antiquity. Not even days of antiquity.
Days of old.
Days of old. Like
Yeah.
just, you know, early 1900s, late 1800s, people that were like going west.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's like
You're going to die of the elements. The natives are going to tear you up, like whatever. The wolves, the buffalo are going to run you over.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no, I think that's part of our problem because we live such a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah.
Everything is, you know, we need food. We go to a grocery store, we get food.
With little hardships.
We have very little hardship.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, we concentrate on, it gives us time to think about what can we do to be safer?
Yeah.
How can we be safe?
And this is why it's important as parents to make your kids go outside and pick weeds. Go outside, pick some weeds.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some blood on those fingers when you come back in.
Yeah.
Right? No gloves.
Yeah.
Or gloves. But like, I want to see some marks on your hands. I want to hear you sneezing a little bit, get some of that pollen in you. So that way you get used to the pollen. So that way you don't become like allergic to everything in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes a little poison ivy is good for you.
Make them work.
Yeah.
Make them work.
Yeah. Pick up a rock, move it from that area to the next.
And don't drop it on your foot. I want you to be safe.
Well,
don't, but hey,
yeah,
consequences. But anyways, yeah. So you sent me this story about out of Washington State,
which is wild because it's a pretty liberal.
That's
area.
A very liberal area, but so
progressive. That's how they want to be identified as, right?
Progressives, because you know they've progressed so far.
Progressing. Now we're regressing with the pursuit policy,
right,
to a better end, I believe.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. You're pretty anti-pursuit, so we'll see.
I love it.
But until recently, actually June 6th, this law changed. Washington law only allowed officers to pursue a vehicle if they had reasonable suspicion that someone in the car had committed a violent crime, sex crime, domestic violence, vehicular assault, or was attempting to escape custody, and DUI. The attempting to escape custody, I'm like, the moment you flee, you're attempting to escape custody. So that seems like a loophole in the law to be able to pursue. Regardless.
I think they probably mean like a prisoner that jumps out of a police car and takes another car.
I know what they mean, but I was like, I feel like I could use that loophole.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So until recently, they needed reasonable suspicion to pursue, basically reasonable suspicion that someone in that vehicle had committed a violent crime to pursue that vehicle. That was the only reason they could pursue.
Right.
Now that has changed and they can pursue if they have reason to believe anyone inside the vehicle has violated the law in any way. Now,
that's pretty broad.
That's very broad. Now, of course, police department's policy still comes in that, you know, I'm sure that they can't pursue to the death for, you know, minor violations,
right. But
it at least, you know, loosens the stranglehold on what the police can do. From the article, this is a quote from the Police One article. It says, critics of the law said that it didn't give law enforcement enough authority to pursue suspects and protect communities. This is the previous law. They pointing to rising crime in the state. According to FBI data, Washington's violent crime rate rose from 303 offenses per 100,000 people in 2019 to 336 in 2021 and 376 per 100,000 people in 2022. So you went from 303 violent crime offenses in 2019 per 100,000 people to 376 in 2022. Also from the article, it said data compiled by retired University of Washington professor Martina Morris found that the state law saw 11 deaths as a result of police pursuits in the 15 months before the reform took effect, and 2 deaths in the 15 months following the reforms. So in other words, when they went to the real restrictive law, they saw less deaths.
That's very interesting. I would have thought the opposite.
No, the restrictive law. the original law, when Washington progressed to this basically no pursuit policy, they saw a drop in death.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So, which
totally
makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Before, a suspect needed to pose a serious risk of harm to others in order for the police to start a pursuit. Now they need to deem the suspect a threat to the safety of others in order to justify a chase. So it's not just a free for all. They still need to do some things to, to pursue. They can't just pursue for any reason. But it is a positive. It looks like maybe things are going to get
some common sense
brought back into it.
Common sense reform.
Right. And then in step with that, there was another Police One article, this out of Pinellas County, Sheriff Bob Galtieri.
Where's that? Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Florida.
Oh, yeah, Florida, man. That's my jam.
So this Sheriff Galtieri, Pinellas County, what they're going to start doing, and I love this, they're just going to start seizing and selling any cars that flee from the police.
Dude, that's awesome.
So, like, you flee. Okay, maybe we won't pursue you.
We're going to find your car.
But we at least have your registration, and we'll just take your car and sell it.
Yeah.
Which I think is that's the type of stuff that needs to start happening.
I agree with you.
Like huge sentences, like mandatory sentences, taking the car, that type of stuff.
I love it. Now, if someone steals your car and gets in a pursuit, I'm sure the sheriff's going to have some.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to take your car if I steal your car and flee in it.
Right. This is what the article said. The initiative stipulates that if a driver escapes, deputies will locate and confiscate the vehicle later. If the car belongs to someone else, the owner will be notified that their vehicle was used in a felony. Repeated offenses by the same driver will result in the car being seized and sold, even if it is owned by someone else, according to the report. The same rules will apply to rental car companies. But what I love about this is it puts pressure on the car owners.
Yeah.
It puts pressure on the car owners and the criminal. A lot of times these criminals aren't driving cars that are registered to them.
For sure.
I mean, we've seen in our careers, a lot of times your guys that are engaged in crime are not using vehicles that are registered to them.
Yeah. And don't loan your car to somebody.
Correct.
Like that's what often happens. Like, or they loan it to somebody and then like, they stole my car. Or they're using it without my...
Right. It's involved in a crime, and then you get a call from a quote-unquote victim who then says, my car was stolen. Yeah, oh, really?
My house was burglarized and my car was stolen, yeah.
How convenient.
Usually they forget to say their house was burglarized.
Right.
And they're like, well, where are the keys? And they're like, well, I only have one.
Right. I have one
Where's
key.
the other one? Oh, I don't know.
Right.
Somebody must have taken it. I dropped it out of my purse and somebody found it on the street and found my car and took it.
It was a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. No, you gave your car to this nitwit.
Right. Yeah. So but I do love, because it puts pressure. It puts pressure on the rental companies too.
Yeah.
Because these rental companies, all they care about is money.
Which is true of almost any company.
Correct. But obviously, I mean, their number one priority is not safety. I can tell you that. It's making money. So it puts pressure on rental companies. It puts pressure on the owners of these vehicles. I don't know how much it will curb it. I still think you need to bring mandatory sentences into it, but at least this sheriff, I think, is on the right track to be like, dude, we're done with this.
I love it.
Because their pursuits have gone through the roof. Like if you read the article, their pursuits are
so everybody's just running.
Yeah, because and that's how it is now.
Yeah,
everybody knows. Like if you run and you run in a way that's dangerous enough and it's unsafe, the police won't chase you because our number one priority is safety.
Safety.
Yep. So that's perhaps the pendulum is swinging, Gary. Perhaps you and I have affected the pendulum.
Oh, dude, I love it.
Swing.
If that's true, it's not true.
It's not true.
But it's cool. It's cool to think that.
It is cool. All right. We got to talk about the Chicago mayor.
Oh, dude, this is unreal. You love Chicago, man.
Chicago is a train wreck.
It's like a microcosm, not a microcosm. It is a macrocosm of the problems in society that we see. You know what I mean? Like you can go to Chicago and you're going to see it all. Where if you go to like one town, you might see one thing. You'd have to go to another area of the country to find another thing. Chicago has it all. They have all the things. It's like DC, right?
Yeah.
There's a few places in the U.S. where they have all of the problems in one area.
Right.
You don't have to search anywhere else. So
they're all
Chicago's like,
there.
it's a gold mine, dude. It's a never-ending gold mine. You just keep digging. There's gold everywhere for us to laugh at and to make fun of and to be sad about.
But I don't understand.
It doesn't have to be that way,
No,
but it is.
But people voted this guy into mayorship.
They hold nobody accountable for anything except the police.
Right. And hopefully, hopefully people in Chicago are gonna like be like,
I mean, maybe they like
done
this.
With this guy.
I mean, we're just teasing this right now. Maybe they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. What's the problem?
Well, let me ask you this. If you had hair, Gary,
Yeah.
just like if I had hair, what's a reasonable amount of money do you think? Let me just say this. If you were a public official, you had hair, you made TV appearances, press conferences, what do you think is a appropriate amount of money to spend on the care of your hair and makeup for those things that you did, those interviews, those press conferences?
Man, that's something I have never actually thought about ever. Not once in my life, because I think I would just do my own thing. If they want me to put makeup on, like, you're going to have to put it on. I don't care. Like, right. I don't care. I would just, like, they voted me in, right?
Right.
The people voted me in because they wanted me. So I'm going to go on TV as me.
Right.
Or I'm going to go to an interview as me.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think I would be concerned with makeup.
I could care less about makeup. Yeah.
Hair. Okay. You need a haircut. What, every week?
Yeah.
What is a haircut?
So
$25, $30?
Yeah, but I'll say this. You're a public official, you probably make some money. I'll show $100 a week.
Right. Okay. So that would be okay. So if you
But that would be my own money. Like,
right.
I wouldn't expect somebody to, it's not part of, listen, that's not part, like, the whoever this celebrity is or person shouldn't be like taking others' money to take care of their
I think that's what's wild to me. Like, you're a public official, your salary is paid by your salary is paid by the taxpayer.
Use that money to take care of yourself. Use that
money, like your salary,
to pay your bills,
to pay your own bills. I feel like there would be a check in me, like, hey, I'm going to
steward this.
I need to go and do this. Where, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't even think about, like, hey, is there a fund within my government entity that I'm in charge of?
I would say this. If you're thinking that as a government official, you shouldn't be a government official.
Right.
Or you shouldn't be in leadership.
Or if you are facing a bill as a government official and you're like, should I pay for this or should I use like government funding for this? You've answered your own question. You should pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, if you have that question in your mind, it's like the same thing I tell, guys when I'm training them, officers when I'm training them. I'm like, if you hear a call come out and you're like, should I go cover on that call or should I start heading that way? You already answered your question.
Yeah,
go. Just go.
Just
start heading that way.
Don't be lazy.
Yeah. Don't be lazy. But it's just okay. So you have a fund for yourself to go get grooming done for your appearances, but Mayor Brandon Johnson.
All right, this is Chicago. Now we're getting into
Chicago.
It. All right.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, $30,000 for hair and makeup over the past year. So this just came to light. $30,000.
30 grand?
30 grand in a year for hair and makeup.
Why does he need that?
On the taxpayer's dime. And the reason we know it's on taxpayer's dime is because he's submitting these expenses. He's submitting these expenses that
to get reimbursed or to like.
Well, no, he has to. He has to show how he's spending money. When you're a government official, you have to show how you're spending the money. And he submitted these expenditures. Like, if you're paying for this by yourself, and maybe you do, maybe you have to submit your expenditures for everything when you're a government official. Okay. That's actually something I should have looked into. Like, even because your salary is being paid by the taxpayers, maybe you have to submit all expenditures, personal and government.
Really?
I don't know. But regardless, $30,000. So what's interesting about this is
over the last year. So we're talking
1 year. So
this is June.
Yeah, I would assume like June of last year to June of this year.
Okay.
He's spent $30,000. And so they had a graph, like a layout, like a spreadsheet type thing in this article about some of those expenditures. And one of them was this, the biggest one is this makeup magic. called Makeup Magic. It's out of a house. It's not even.
Oh man.
This is a business that's run out of a house in Chicago. They have the address there. It looks like a nice neighborhood. I pulled it up on Google Maps and looked at it. It looks like a nice neighborhood, but it's a business being run out of a house. So you have these expenditures in January 2nd of 2024. He spent $700 there. Okay. In February 2024, he spent $675 there on the 15th of February. On February 23rd, 2024, he spent $750 there. Okay. All right. So those amounts are all the same. But on January 23rd of 24, he spent $4,400 there.
Whoa. What did you do?
Even just looking at that, you're like, okay, first of all, I don't know what you're spending $750 on Makeup Magic for, but then what's this $4,400? What's that for? Like, what did you get done special on that day?
Like, is that like a special soap they put on your face? Is that like,
I don't know. Did he have like a busy press day? Busy days that day?
So he had to make sure his makeup was caked on?
Yeah. So, this was the 23rd of January, 2024. So I was like, well, what was Mayor Brandon Johnson up to on the 23rd of January?
Tell us what
and
happened.
the 24th of January. On the 23rd of January, he was calling for natural gas to be banned in all new buildings.
For sure. We should definitely do that.
So I'm sure, he had press conferences. So he needed a lot of makeup and hair help for that. And then on the January 24th, which I don't really know if it applies because he would have slept, on this makeup and hair. But on January 24th, he was calling on the state to build migrant shelters outside of Chicago because Chicago's getting overrun.
Oh,
you had invited everyone there.
Yeah.
So you're a sanctuary city.
Let's put it somewhere else.
We've had enough. We can't handle this. Go build migrant shelters outside of Chicago. So, yeah, I don't know. Just as a normal human being looking at this, I'm just like, okay, 750, 675, 700, 4,400.
Did you find a picture of what he looked like on the 24th? Like, was the $4,400 worth?
He looks the same.
Of course he does.
At every single conference.
Yeah, I wonder if this magic makeup, is that what's called? Makeup Magic? Whatever this business is
Makeup
called.
Magic, yeah.
I wonder if it's like somehow a friend of his.
It would be interesting to dive into the relationship. There was no comment from Makeup Magic. No comment.
Why not?
About
well,
what
I guess they don't want to.
How
they want to stay safe.
Right. They want to stay safe
and protect their customers.
Yeah. And what's interesting is
you can't blame them.
No,
they're
making hand over fist money.
Yeah, from the public.
$4,400 in one day. That's nice.
I'd do somebody's makeup for that.
I'd slap some makeup on Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Yeah.
You're looking good, Mayor.
Dude, I wonder, like, if that, like, that's probably a shampoo. So he probably definitely got a shampoo. He got
I think it's a sham.
Ooh.
That's it.
Good work there, Anthony. That is kind of pathetic. I'd be upset if I was a taxpayer.
Right.
I can see, okay, you want $100 a month for hair? Okay.
Right.
We could probably do that. But, like, come on, let's not get crazy.
And when confronted about this, he, because he's been getting confronted about this by citizens and the press, just asking him about it. And his whole thing is like, as mayor, we believe in supporting small businesses, especially those owned by Black and brown people and blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
blah.
yeah.
So it's like all this. So, pull the race thing right away and then talk about supporting businesses and everything. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You want to go support small businesses? You want to go support small businesses owned by Black and brown people? Great. But this looks a little shady.
And why only go to the same one? So you're not supporting all of them. You're supporting one.
You're supporting one.
Yeah.
And then when they did release these expenditures, one of the things they did is they wrongly reported the place where he was going to get his haircut.
Anthony air quoted wrongly. So just so everybody's aware, like, because we don't have YouTube yet. We don't have video. At some point we will. As long as we get 5-star reviews and some more patrons.
So they wrongly reported where he was getting his haircut done. And so the press went to this guy and
clerical error, probably.
Yeah, they went to this guy and said, "Hey," and he's like, "The mayor has never been in my establishment. I have seen no money from the mayor for any services rendered to him." Ooh. And so they went back to the mayor and it's like, "Oh, that was a clerical error.
This was getting juicy.
We made a mistake." And maybe they did. Maybe they did make a mistake. Who knows?
Oh, Anthony,
The name was slightly similar. The name of the two barbershops was slightly similar. So maybe it was an honest mistake.
That they made the mistake since January of 24.
I don't know.
Every time they did this expenditure. Well, that person needs held accountable.
I don't know. I don't know. But
Whatever,
I mean,
dude.
maybe they're struggling with time blindness.
Time blindness. What is this, Anthony?
Maybe they just can't get things done on time, show up on time, get to work on time. You know, maybe they're struggling with time blindness.
Time blindness. Is this like another something you can be diagnosed with?
Yes.
No, wait. Come on, dude. I know some people that I've worked with in the past that had time blindness.
And they didn't even know it probably.
No,
they just need to get diagnosed.
We should get them help.
Yep.
We should make sure that they can get, do they give medication for this?
Well,
somebody's
time
going to.
blindness is really often associated with like ADHD.
Oh man,
Like
who doesn't have that?
Right. So it's when I saw this video of this girl complaining about her time blindness, I was like, this has to be parody. This can't be real. So I started looking into it more. And no, it's like a diagnosable thing that they're
Tell me about.
diagnosing.
All right, how's the video go? Tell me about that. I didn't watch the video.
Okay, so this woman, young woman, probably in her 20s, she is,
Of course, it's a 20-year-old woman.
right. She's talking about how she applied for a job. Of course, it's a 20-year-old.
I can't believe I just said that. I don't even believe that or think that to be true. I just think it's funny. Here's what I'm picturing. All right, it's a 20-year-old woman. She probably went to college, got out of college. It's definitely a white woman for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I knew it. I knew it was. Yeah. All right, what else about her? She's probably super thin.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
She didn't look.
I'm trying to think how else to describe
overweight.
her. I'm probably getting myself in more
She
trouble,
didn't
but like,
yeah, you're drawing
does
conclusions.
she have a fry at the, like, as she talks, she's like, I can't even do it. Like, do you know how they do like the trail off when they're talking?
No,
Like,
I don't know.
like
I didn't study
like
how
a coffee with
cafe.
yeah, like that kind of thing. She
Yeah.
probably speaks like that, or no?
No.
Oh, man.
No, and she didn't
I'm
have
getting it all wrong, dude.
different colored hair. She wasn't all tatted up. She didn't
Okay.
have all kinds of piercings. She looked like a normal girl.
Okay.
You know, but she was complaining that she applied for this job, and she's talking to people that work there and everything, and she asked them if they have considerations for someone who suffers from time blindness and has trouble getting to work on time. And they yelled at her, and she was upset about that. She's crying, and she's like, people complain about us trying to tear down these systems. And this is exactly why we need to tear these systems down, because people don't recognize my time blindness.
So wait, they want to tear down the system of being somewhere on time?
Yeah, it's a system, and it's a wrong system. So here's what time blindness is. So I was like,
My goodness, Anthony.
it basically, if you have time blindness, according to Google,
This is awesome, dude. I absolutely love this.
according to Google AI, time blindness is a
Google AI. Dude, I love this even more.
So when I typed in what is time blindness, the first thing that popped up was Google AI with a brief synopsis of what time blindness is.
Okay.
Time blindness is a cognitive condition.
Cognitive.
I can't make this up. That makes it hard to perceive and manage time.
As if something perceived time. I'm getting mad, dude.
It's not a specific diagnosis or symptom, but rather a general way. So it's just like, it's a general way of describing the experience of losing track of time. People with time blindness may have trouble with punctuality, planning, estimating how long something will take, sticking to schedules, and recognizing when to start and finish tasks.
That's awesome.
So this is something that is allegedly.
Hey, type in who suffers from time blindness. Like from the.
What do you mean?
Like type that in. Who do you let me? Oh, okay. Forget typing it in. Let's just. Who are the people who suffer from time blindness? Let's just describe them. What are they like?
I mean, when I read this, I'm like, this just sounds like laziness.
It also sounds like young people.
Right.
Like, especially nowadays. Dude, these young people nowadays, they cannot show up to anything on time. Almost anything.
Right.
Like, it is unreal to me.
I guess
I used to always think, this is what I used to think, and maybe now I'm getting old. I used to always think that, like,
kids, when I say kids, I mean those under 21, 21, 22, 23, 24, now getting up to 30s. Like that's where I'm literally thinking about now,
Kids.
young people,
Okay.
kids. But let's say 20s, early 20s. They can show up to I used to believe this. They can show up to their job on time, but anything else, they can't show up on time. They just choose not to, or
Right.
like it's not an important thing. And it drives me insane.
So
It
like,
probably
give me an
shouldn't.
example, like, just
So like if you have like an appointment
An
or
event
you have
or-
an
okay.
event or a gathering and it
They just show
starts
up
at
whenever.
6 p.m., they're showing up at 10 after 6.
right
And everybody else can't do what needs to be done
until they get there.
until they get there.
Right.
And you're literally like, bro, like you're wasting everybody's time, and they literally could care less. They don't care.
Right.
Dude, my daughter fits into this category.
She has time blindness.
She has time blindness. So now I
Get her
know
on some medication.
it's diagnosed, and now I can deal with the problem. Maybe I can get her some counseling, and I can break the system down in my own household of expecting people to be where they are supposed to be on time.
I guess so when I was like, well, this is just laziness. So I like
Which is what it
Googled,
is.
I Googled time blindness versus laziness, and I was hit with a lot of articles explaining to me how I'm the problem. Because
Of course, we're the problem, dude.
because laziness and time blindness are two different things, and I should not.
It's obvious that they're different things.
And I am a jerk for even typing this into my Google search engine. I'm the idiot.
Oh man.
But here's so what I would. So I was just thinking about this because I look at this stuff and I just start thinking about it. If I was a business owner and I hired someone and they asked me, do you have any special considerations for me, a sufferer of time blindness? First of all, I would need to figure out what time blindness was.
Sure.
So I'd have them to break down their diagnosis. I think I would hope that I would have the presence of mind to be like, yeah, we do support people with time blindness. You will get paid for when you're here. So if you don't show up for work, then you won't get paid. And see if that would maybe that would clear up their time blindness. It might help. I might actually help them develop less time blindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I think is interesting is if you told someone, if you show up on work on time this whole year, at the end of the year, you get a $5,000 bonus. I think maybe their time blindness would disappear.
It probably would. Or they would file something with the, disabilities people. I wonder if it's going to become a disability.
They're already saying it's like a normal.
No, wait. Come on, Anthony.
Dude, they're saying it's diagnosable cognitive thing. Like this is a real thing.
So what does a business have to put into place, right? Like if someone has disabilities, as a business should make sure that that employee can work there, right? Like ramps for someone in a wheelchair.
Right.
That's
Sure.
an easy example.
An actual disability.
An actual disability. Well, what I'm saying is this is going to become an actual disability, or in the eyes of the government, it's going to be an actual disability.
I don't know if.
What would you do as an employer to make sure that this person suffering from time blindness can stay focused on the tasks that they are given, or show up on time to meetings, or get a job that they've been given to do completed on time? What do you do as an employer? What are some
give them fidget toys?
Here's what I do. I say, hey, you were late on this task. You do it again, you're done.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Yeah.
I'll go find somebody without time blindness
Right.
to do the task.
And I don't know if time blindness is what the diagnosis will be. It looks like they're really trying to tie it to like ADHD.
Like it's a symptom of ADHD, which is a thing.
I don't know. I don't even know if ADHD is a thing. To be honest, like a lot of the young people like you described that I deal with who claim they have ADHD, I'm like, I just think your butt wasn't whooped enough when you were a kid. That's what I think.
You didn't have enough consequences in your life. Early on.
I mean, whatever. I think also screen time. I think the amount of time young kids spend in front of a screen,
flashing lights and stuff.
It's just like instant like gratification type stuff. So I think like that has affected this whole ADHD thing, because kids are so used to, I want to be entertained immediately and constantly. Like I can't sit down and read a book.
Yeah.
I can't
Anthony
sit down
Weaver,
and just be quiet.
PhD in mental cognitive abilities.
Oh, for sure not. But we diagnose everything in this country. And what's interesting to me, we only diagnose negative things.
That's interesting.
Like
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you have like an overachiever or, a super driven individual, like someone who's waking up at 4 every morning, working out, like getting after it, doing all this stuff, we don't have a diagnosis for that. They're not on medication for it.
To calm them down or to like...
there's no... Because we're like, oh, that's a positive attribute. But if you have a negative attribute, if you're like, oh, I can't get anywhere on time, I must have a problem.
Because I'm suffering from time blindness.
I must have a problem, and then we diagnose it to make people
and then medicate
feel
it.
better about themselves. Like, no, you just don't have any discipline.
Right. Or drive or whatever.
Or like whatever it is. Like,
or no fear. Like in reality, fear is a good motivator. Right? Like, hey, I have to pay my bills. If I don't show up to work on time, even though I suffer from time blindness, I might not be able to pay my bills, and then I can't have my cell phone that I want to put my face in all the time.
Right.
So obviously that fear ought to be a motivator, but you take fear away when you diagnose and just make excuses for whatever, for your faults. Like, listen, if you suffer from time blindness out there, it's okay. Because we all have faults. One of your faults is your inability to motivate yourself or to put things in your life to make sure your place is on time. That's on you.
Yeah. I mean,
in reality, listen, it's on you.
This is really a PSA, a public service announcement.
Yeah. And if you like this one, give us a 5-star review.
The symptoms of time blindness are, I found this chart: inaccurate time perception, inability to estimate time, frequently losing track of time, postponing tasks and missing deadlines, constant difficulties with time management. Get a watch. Like, look at your watch.
Look at your watch.
This blows my mind.
Yeah, look at your watch and then do a task. Okay, how long does it take you to brush your teeth? Put a watch on your little wrist. Push the button, push start, brush your teeth, see how long it takes. Now you know, write it down. It takes me 2 minutes to brush my teeth. All right. Now you know you got 2 minutes. You got to back up. This is not hard. This is very easy. It takes some time to figure it out, which is part of the problem probably. And you don't have anybody there to tell you what to do. But sometimes you got to be self-motivated to do things.
I think it's a parental problem.
I agree with that. But then at some point in your life, you have got to gird up your loins.
Yeah.
You gotta pull up that skirt.
Right.
And get ready to run.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, my 8-year-old understands time, understands how to look at a clock. And, at this time, you may come out, because he wakes up super early every morning.
Oh, it's
super early, but he understands.
It's actually a good habit, but it's terrible for those who want to sleep in.
You can't come out of your room until this time. You may play in your room. You may read in your room. You may quietly entertain yourself in your room without a screen. There's no screens in his room.
Yeah.
Until this time, and then you may come out of your room. His time management skills are on point. So maybe it's just a training
So he
problem.
looks at a clock.
He looks at a clock.
And waits for that time.
Right.
He doesn't suffer from time blindness.
He doesn't.
And if he does have a lapse in his strength and he violates the rule, which is don't come out of your room before time.
Right. There's a consequence.
Huh. Really?
Yeah.
And I bet it's probably 1 or 2 consequences. And then you're like, I don't really like the consequence.
Right.
It's more like I'm more satisfied when I don't have the consequence. So I'm probably going to keep track of time.
Right.
Yeah. It's real weird, man. An 8-year-old.
But I mean, again, parentally, we've been on this like the idea of corporal punishment in parenting is not a absurd. I mean, that was something that was just generally accepted years ago. Like corporal punishment and consequences and parenting. That was like accepted parenting
in society.
And now, like it's not. Now you're actually viewed a certain way if you engage in consequences for bad behavior, any level of corporal punishment. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm asked by parents, about putting a hand on their kid. Like they think it's illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are tough spots. Like you're talking about on the job. Those are tough because you're literally dealing with this person for 20 minutes.
Sure.
And you're trying to give them advice that they've
right
not. So
but
that's different though, because those people, like, they probably aren't going to be good at putting a good habitual, like, consequences, rewards thing in the 20 minutes that you deal with them.
Correct.
So that's what's real hard about being a cop, because everybody they want you to fix their problem that they've made over years and years of real bad behavior.
Yeah, because they're calling you when they're their 14-year-old, just called them a B word
and threw something across the room.
And then mom slaps the 14-year-old. Then the 14-year-old calls us and wants parent charged with assault.
Because the teachers in their school have told them your parents can't put your hands on you.
Right.
That's abuse.
And then the parent believes, like, hey, I might actually get charged with assault. I
messed up, yeah.
So what I always try to do is give the power back to the parents, but it is difficult because you're walking into a situation where you don't really know what the parents are like and you don't really know what the kid is. So in a span of like 15, 20 minutes on the call, you're trying to use your personal discretion and ability to read people to determine who the problem is here. But I always wanted to show deference to the parents. And so if a kid called me and said, hey, my dad or my mom put a hand to me, okay, get there, talk to the kid, hey, my dad slapped me on the side of the face. Well, why'd he slap you? Well, because I, called mom the B word and dad didn't like it. Okay, well, that probably wasn't a smart decision. So I go talk to the dad and dad, tells me the whole story. And I'm like, and the kid wants their parents arrested and charged.
Right.
And I tell the parents in front of the kid, like, listen, you're allowed to lay your hands on your kid. There's nothing in the law that says you can't lay your hand on your kid. I'm like, you can't take a baseball bat to them, but you can, like, if they mouth off and you slap them, that's not illegal.
Right.
But if you're doing that, the other problem is if you're doing that at 14, 15 years of age, that means you probably weren't doing it consistently earlier. That's why you have this problem. You didn't have consistent consequences, consistent punishment, consistent discipline early years. So you created like this monster now, and now all of a sudden you're trying to rein the monster in. We've talked about this with criminals. Like, we're in this pendulum swing right now where there's no consistent consequences. And so we see just violence growing and growing and growing. And when that pendulum starts swinging back and citizens are like, we want the police to do something about this, the level of violence and use of forces that are going to be needed to do that are going to be astronomical, because for years, they've just been able to, criminals have been able to do whatever they want.
Right. Without consequence.
Without consequence. They can talk a certain way to cops. They can say certain things. They can do whatever they want. And cops just dance around with them. Well, when that ends, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult.
Because you've messed up for so long in not having small consequences.
Right.
Yeah. Like early on in a criminal's career, they should be consequences that actually cause change.
Correct.
Which will change some people. The problem is you have criminal's going to be a criminal.
Sure.
But the hope is with discipline. I mean, in reality, the justice system is punishment. Like, it is, you're holding someone accountable. So it's not discipline. That's within the family, I think.
Right.
And within the business world or whatever. But I think in society, it's punishment.
But I think we would agree that the best thing for the criminal justice system is that punishment would change behavior, which is discipline. It is a punishment. You're receiving a punishment, but the hope is that you change behavior.
Yeah, because everybody wants society to be great. Like, I want society to be great. So does, but I think criminals don't. That's the problem. They just take. Right.
Dude,
I love time blindness. That was awesome.
Time blindness.
We're going to keep coming back to that because that was gold, dude. That is gold. Dude, I know some cops who suffer from time blindness.
Well, maybe they just have a problem. Maybe they need help.
Yeah.
They don't need consequences. They just need help.
That's a funny one, dude. Funny.
So, and then the last one, we saved the heaviest one for last. What do you think about this? So, beginning of the month, we're in June, so it's Pride Month. We're getting all the Pride stuff shoved down our throats constantly. The FBI agents marched in a Pride parade in West Hollywood at the beginning of this month. Okay,
is that true? So I saw this article. I saw the pictures and stuff. Is it actually true? Is it FBI agents or no?
Well, So what I'll say about the video is you have people that are wearing shirts that say FBI on them. Some of them are wearing shirts that say FBI in rainbow colors. They have guns on their hips.
They also look like FBI agents look a certain way. They have the similar build of an FBI agent and look like.
Yeah, I mean, they're marching with guns on their hips and badges and stuff. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
we're assuming this to be true.
I'm assuming this to be true. And listen, the other reason I'm assuming this to be true is that you can go on numerous police department websites. They'll have their patches and their badges painted in rainbow. They have pride cars. This is something that's being endorsed and approved of and the department celebrated
sure.
by departments. This social movement is something that is being celebrated by these departments. So it doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility that the actual FBI agents were doing this. Watching the video, they appeared to be FBI agents based on what they were wearing, how they were dressed, the things they were carrying. Again, waving.
So they're not pulling security for the event.
Correct.
They're
literally marching in this like parade.
Yes.
They're waving pride flags. They're wearing, some of them have FBI shirts on and the FBI is in rainbow colors. Yeah. Like, what did you think about that?
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I guess what I don't understand, like if you
here's the reason.
Go ahead.
Here's the reason why, Anthony. Because law enforcement is supposed to be neutral in all things, except for against the bad guy.
Right.
That's what we're supposed to be. And when you march or wear the stuff of one ideology, you negate any legitimate, not even legitimate, any other ideology that might oppose it to some extent.
Right.
Right. Now, would the FBI, would society be okay with the FBI marching with the KKK? Would we be okay with that? If they took that side, would they be okay with, what if you're a dog person and not a cat person and the FBI walks with a dog thing?
Right.
Celebrating dogs. Well, I don't like dogs. I like cats. Like, it's not neutral.
Yeah. I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we are one of the few podcasts that are talking about this.
That's probably true. I don't listen to any other cop podcasts.
I listen to some other stuff.
I can't even hear myself talk. Like, I don't even like to hear myself talk about these things.
I read a lot of stuff and everything, and I just don't feel like a lot of people are addressing this or talking about it. And to me, it is a huge problem in law enforcement. And listen, I'm in law enforcement. You're in law enforcement. We love the profession. We felt called to the profession. We love the people that we work with. But, I'm not afraid to be critical of the profession. And I think this is...
We should be critical. That's literally how you grow and how, like, have a little pushback without there being, like, hatred. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Okay, so we're pushing back on this. A department might disagree with us, but we don't have to be mortal enemies. And, like, we try to destroy them. They try to destroy us, which is literally what happens. You know what I mean?
Instead of a conversation.
Right. Which everybody wants to talk about a conversation unless you have an opposing view. Then you can't have a seat at the table and an actual voice at the table, because that's another one of the things that everybody likes to say.
Right.
Like, listen, I don't have a problem if you're a cop and you want to walk and you're gay and you want to walk in the pride. I don't care. Don't put your badge on.
Right.
Hide it. Because in that moment, that's a personal view. And if you hold that personal view while you're wearing that badge in a situation where you have to make a decision, no one's going to believe that you're going to be neutral.
Right.
Ever. No one's ever going to believe that.
Right.
And because you're not neutral.
Right.
You're showing off this reality that you're a police officer who has this view. Nobody's going to think that you're...
It erodes public trust.
That's a great way to say that.
I mean, listen, every person has certain beliefs, convictions, ideologies, faith. Every person has that. There's no way you can separate that from a person. But I think what you're saying, Gary, is that when you are in uniform, when you are engaged in your work and your profession as a
even your
police
calling,
officer,
not just. I mean, I would go even further.
Okay,
like I agree, you're employed you're also, enforcing the law. What was I saying?
You're just saying,
it's your
even
calling.
in addition to law enforcement.
Yeah, it's literally like inside of a police officer, if you're a good one, that like you want to be neutral. You want the good to be rewarded and the wrong behavior to be
right
held accountable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
so
like for me as a Christian, if I go to a call where there's a Christian and an atheist involved in a fight, I'm not going to take the side of a Christian or an atheist. I'm especially not going to take I'm not going to take the side of the Christian just because he's a Christian. Like, that's not even who I am. It's not in me. Like, everybody says you have implicit bias, and that's probably true, but you can put it aside.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can put it aside. If there's a fight between a gay guy and a Christian, I'm going to figure out what happened and hold whoever at fault.
Right.
That's literally what happened. Like, it's not a thing.
I think
not everybody can do that, I guess. And that is a problem. If you can't do that, that's a problem.
I think the vast majority of law enforcement officers engage with people every single day who have different belief systems,
for sure,
and are doing things that they don't agree with. I mean, every single day, you and I deal with people who don't believe the same way we believe.
Right. It actually doesn't even come up, but like,
right,
yeah.
Right. But, just based on like, for me personally, going to a call, I'm engaging with people who, just because of the call, the nature of the call and what is happening at the scene, I know that the people involved do not have the same convictions I have.
Right. Same worldview, same whatever.
Same worldview, same faith, like nothing about the people I'm engaged in on a regular basis believe anything I believe or would subscribe to anything I subscribe to. And yet I still, like you are saying and put so well, go to that call and decide, has a crime been committed?
Right.
And who is guilty of committing that crime?
Or potentially guilty.
Guilty. Who do I have probable cause to arrest?
Or cite, or...
Right, to give a citation or a traffic ticket.
Or I'm literally going to say, this person said this person said this. There's no evidence of anything criminal happening. Here's the report. There's nothing to be done.
Like,
it's not a police matter.
Every day, police do that. Every single day.
It's
because
nonstop.
That's what we're called to do. We're called to go into situations where we don't have to agree with anyone involved in that situation on an ideological standpoint or
doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Yes.
We go in and we do what we're supposed to do. I mean, you and I, Gary, we talk about things on this podcast that are personal convictions, personal beliefs, but we've always tried to keep our agencies out of it. I've never put out on the airwaves what agency I work for. I mean, people can probably easily figure out.
Hard to figure out,
but I personally do not attach myself to my agency when we do this podcast. Neither do you. And, the other agency I work for, I did attach myself because I was retired. So I had a little more freedom to talk about things and such. So, but that doesn't mean that because I have personal convictions that when I'm in uniform, then those personal convictions drive how I enact the law. Like, just like you were saying, I mean,
if it does, you're wrong.
Correct.
And a police officer who does that should be held accountable.
Right. And so I think you also touched on the fact that, if you have like a pride event in your city and that pride event needs security, we as the police should provide security for that.
100%.
That's part of our duty. We don't have to agree.
It happens all of the time.
It happens all the time.
I've worked a pride event. I've worked it multiple times. Multiple years in a row I've worked them.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I'm getting paid. I'm doing my job.
Right.
Doing it well.
You're protecting that event. Just like, years ago when these KKK marches were bigger. I haven't even heard of a recent KKK march, but
Are they even a thing anymore?
I don't even know if they're a thing, but they used to be a thing. The police would provide security for that event,
right?
Because it's a freedom of speech issue. The problem is that when you're in uniform, engaging yourself while in uniform into a social belief or a social push for something erodes the trust of people who don't agree with that.
Right.
And so that's all we're getting to. Like, Gary and I can talk about our Christian beliefs when it comes to, all the pride events, the LGBTQs. Like I'm trying to, not set it aside, but set it over here and just help us to critically think about this and why the police should not be involved in things like this.
As it relates to law enforcement, which
Correct.
is the whole purpose of this podcast. That's what we talk about, right?
Right. So I, like when we're in uniform, we can't be at voting. We can't be at polling places. We can't be anywhere near.
Literally. So if you're on patrol, like your supervisors will tell you the day of an election or the day before, like, listen, tomorrow, stay away.
Right.
Stay away. Don't even don't drive by. Try to be as far away as possible unless you get called there. And if so, a supervisor is getting involved in that. That's how big of a deal it is with voting.
Yeah.
Voting, which I think rightfully so.
Right. Yeah.
No one should be intimidated by the police being there and them thinking a certain way, which is silly to begin with, but whatever. Maybe they suffer from time blindness. I don't know.
Yeah. So you take that and the fact that a uniformed cop can't even be at a polling place while voting is taking place because it's an appearance of whatever, that they may have an appearance of siding with one side or the other. But then these social ideologies, these social justice things, we're injecting the police in uniform into these situations. We're celebrating them. We're endorsing them. We're changing our patch colors. We're doing these pride cars. You're literally eroding the trust of the community because you have members of your community who do not agree with that ideology. And so they're already wondering in their mind, well, if my police department agrees with this and celebrates it and promotes it, what does that mean for me? 5 years down the road, am I going to be treated fairly for not agreeing with it and not promoting it and maybe even speaking out against it, which is my freedom of speech? But am I going to be punished for that? It erodes the trust of the community. And I think that's why it's so dangerous for police departments, agencies, federal agencies to be doing stuff like this, because you're completely out of line. It's completely off base, out of line. There's a difference between providing protection and security for a freedom of speech event and marching in it and being a part of it.
Right.
And we have to protect the freedom of speech. We have to protect the ability of people to do things and engage in social justice as long as they're holding the law, as long as they're keeping the law. We have to protect that. Freedom of speech in this country is so important. We as law enforcement need to protect that, but we should not be engaged in it.
While in uniform.
While in uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of uniform, you can.
You do you.
You do you. Yeah. Keep your department separate of it.
Yep.
That's the rule. Like, we as police officers, we can engage.
Well, it was the rule, yeah.
I don't know. It's getting
was
dicey.
The norm. Yeah, it's getting wild now.
But that's the thing. And we can't, I don't know, man. It really bothers me because I'm like, this can't go in any good direction. I mean, just because the police are in uniform are engaged in something I don't agree with, just as much I don't want the police in uniform engaged in something I do agree with. They should be apolitical.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a prime example. A police officer in uniform at Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
Like shouting, stay away, stay away, stay away.
Right.
I'm not okay with that.
No.
Not one bit okay with that.
Right.
So hear us say that. We're not just against the pride stuff.
Right.
We're against this for anything. And it's just not okay.
Right.
Stay neutral.
I mean, if you want to keep it within this conversation about pride stuff and the LGBTQ stuff, let's say you had a sanctity of marriage march.
Right.
We would not want the police to march in that.
Yes.
They should not.
You're saying Anthony and Gary even wouldn't want that.
I'm saying in uniform.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm saying as police officers, we would not want to see uniformed police officers embracing that, doing wrapping their cars in sanctity of marriage things to push back against.
Even though, hear us, we believe in that 100%.
100%.
I want that to happen.
Right. That would be our hope for. We talk about that on this podcast. Our belief system, as believers in Christ, as followers of the Word, or as best as we can, followers of the Word by the grace of Christ, we want those things for our community. We want those things for our world. We believe that those are the best ways. We believe that the way of Jesus is the way. That's what we believe. But as police officers, we have a mission, and that is to praise those who are keeping the law, crush those who are breaking the law.
Yep.
And so that's what we should be doing. So providing safety for people to engage in their freedom of speech, but not engaging in those things, whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it.
Right.
Like, we should not be engaging in it at all.
Yep.
And so I think it's unfortunate to see this happening more and more and more.
Yeah, and it seems to be more like aggressive each year. Like, it's already, you know what I mean? Like, the police being involved in social ideas.
Right.
Even more. I saw, what do you think about, so like with police cars being wrapped in like camouflage for like Veterans Day or Memorial Day. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, I mean, I kind of do. I mean,
really?
I
haven't thought that through. I thought about it the other day because I saw like this cop car was super cool looking.
Right.
From a local jurisdiction. And like, it's one car and it was still driving around patrolling or doing whatever.
Right.
But like, it's wrapped in like camouflage for Memorial Day or Veterans Day or something like that. Like,
I guess that is a little different because you're celebrating a
like our nation.
Like our nation. You're celebrating something that has been, I mean, but Pride Month has been identified by our country too. I guess, you know, it's not a social justice movement. It's not like a social
It's not like
movement.
an agenda, a push.
It's not like an agenda. It's not a push. You're just saying, hey, we appreciate veterans.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I don't know of anyone who would be against that. Like, I mean, maybe, but you're not pushing a social justice movement. Like, you're not pushing, like, you know,
or even a belief system.
Or
because it is a belief system. I mean,
right.
I think
it's absolutely a belief system. You know, it's absolutely a belief system. But
yeah, so
yeah, I just think we're, you know, to get engaged in those types of things, I think it's a fair question and one that I really haven't thought about too much. But again, I think it's a little different because it's not a social movement. You're not trying to change the world or change people's mind about something. You're just saying,
yeah,
we appreciate our
Here's
veterans.
one thing, Anthony. On Memorial Day, there's a police officer in the parade, like engaged in the parade, not just providing security. Is that like a thing? I think like a Memorial Day parade.
Leading the parade, you mean?
No, I mean, they're like in it, right? Or are they just
the parade that we go to? I thought they just have a police car at the beginning leading it, like for safety reasons.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
was thinking of other like options.
Well, I guess there's been mounted unit in it before and stuff like that.
Where the community's celebrating the police or.
Yeah.
I think it's different though. It is different.
You're not pushing a social idea. You're not pushing a ideology. You're not pushing a belief system. It's a celebration of veterans.
Of
Veterans Day or Memorial Day. You know, you're commemorating the sacrifices of other people.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of trying to push an agenda or prove to people that you approve of and endorse something that maybe not everyone approves and endorses.
Yeah.
So I do think it's different.
Yep.
But I think it's a valid question.
And I think we should keep talking about it. Like, even the side that would be against us would say, well, we definitely should. Like, I'd be willing to hear them out.
Right. And if someone feels that having officers in a Memorial Day parade is somehow the same, well, okay, then don't march them in any parade. Like, yeah, I don't care. Like,
I just want to hear it though. Like, I want to understand how they think that. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Just like someone's probably confused as to they would want to hear more of what we say. Like an actual argument, like having a discussion,
right? Like
a normal thing,
a debate
that has happened for thousands of years.
Yeah,
we should be able to have conversations.
Yeah,
and I enjoy them. I think they're fun. They can be challenging and they can be hurtful, and they can make you feel a certain way. But that doesn't make it wrong,
right?
Right? Just because you have a bad feeling or a bad taste in your mouth or in your heart doesn't mean that it's wrong necessarily. It can be healthy to feel some pain sometimes.
Right.
And to feel and to have your like belief system kind of put in check. Okay, well, why do I believe that? Or is that actually what I believe? Or is that true? Or is that not true?
Right.
Those things are good. So if you're constantly feeling good or or
safe.
Yeah, or satisfied with your belief system, like without any type of like movement in your like soul and your very being, like there's probably something wrong.
Right.
I mean, even for a Christian, like you
Right.
should feel that like gauge kind of jump up a little bit. Well, why do I believe that? And then like be able to like figure it out. You know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
literally that's what it means to be a human.
But I think, but to that end, I think as a Christian, when you feel that, like, why do I believe that? You should be pushed to the Bible to
Which is our source, for sure.
Source.
And-
So, but I think people outside of that, why do I believe that? It's like if
Why?
if you don't have a source,
Go to the source.
right,
Well, like, what is your source? If your source is you're flawed.
right,
You really are. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. You're flawed. If I go to me and what I believe and what I think and this and that,
right,
I'm going to be faulty.
right,
And everyone, you know that to be true. If
Right.
you're listening, you know that to be true. What is your source of your belief system? What is it? It's something. Name it. Like, we love to name things, right? Name what your belief is.
diagnose it,
Diagnose it. What are you going to for your truth?
right,
If it's you, it's going to be faulty, bro. I don't know what to tell you. I know that might hurt. It's going to be faulty.
right,
You know, what's your source? And we would say that the word of God is the source of truth, the source of truth.
the source.
It is the sufficient source of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think, I think it's a good discussion to keep having. I know we talked about it, I think a couple episodes ago, when we were like questioning, is law enforcement endorsing evil things? And that falls right in line with that. And if you're okay with the police in uniform being engaged in marching in a social movement like BLM stuff, pro-choice stuff, the pride stuff, if you're okay with that, then you also have to be okay with them going and marching in conservative things. And so for me as a police officer, and for anyone as a police officer, it comes back down to this, like, well, what do I do? Well, I think you just need to have your eyes wide open, your ears wide open, and you need to be, if you're a Christian police officer, you need to be in the Word and trying to determine and dissect how to engage and deal with some of the stuff that's already happening or coming down the pike, and also asking some really hard questions to the people, your leadership. I mean, if you're in a department that is engaging in this type of stuff, then ask your department, hey, I noticed we marched in the Pride Parade. We have this March for Life coming up. I would like some uniform officers to march in that and see what happens. And then I would start raising a ruckus if they're like, no, we're not gonna put uniformed officers in a March for Life. Nope, that would. Well, then why are we in the Pride Parade?
Yeah.
Start poking the bear.
Yeah.
That's I think where I would start, or where I would go. But I don't know. But then you risk losing your job.
Yeah.
And losing.
Thankfully, though, nowadays police departments need police officers, so like they might be less likely to get rid of you.
Get pushed back a little more.
Maybe you could push back a little bit more than when there was tons of cops in the street and
right.
Everybody was looking for a job and you couldn't find one. Nowadays, man, they'll pick you up.
They'll hire anybody.
Almost anybody.
Well, even at time blindness, they'll pick you up.
Oh, dude, there's been cops with time blindness for years. We just never knew how to diagnose.
We never knew.
Now we know, dude.
Now we know.
Dude, knowing is what, half the battle, right? You got to name it, and then we claim it, right? Name it and claim it, baby.
Name it and claim it.
Name it and claim it.
Time blindness.
Dude,
There's help for you.
I can't wait dude, I'm going to keep talking about time blindness because it's funny. It's super funny. And I'm going to keep using it for all the time. I'm going to ask my daughter when she shows up late to things, I'll be like, I know your time blindness got you. What can I do to help you?
Maybe we should have like an intervention with your daughter, a time blindness intervention.
Oh, dude.
Like, we think you have a problem.
Yeah, I think I have family members that have time blindness. I love it, dude.
All right.
All right, man. Good job.
Peace.
Until next time.